Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
Southeast Radio.
Well, the Hotel Investment Fund has been established to support hotels in Ireland that have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. The €50 million fund can assist eligible hotels with working capital and cash flow funding, capital expenditure and environmentally sustainable investment funding. Mark Lynch is the co-founder of Pembroke Hospitality, the company that is responsible for managing the investment fund, and he joins us now to tell us more. Mark, we'll be discussing the newly launched Hotel Investment Fund, but prior to co-founding Pembroke Hospitality, where had your career taken you?
Good morning, Carl. Thanks for having me on. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, Carl. Qualified more than 30 years ago at this stage, I'm ashamed to admit. But during that time, I've worked in the hospitality industry really all that time since qualifying, both as a consultant to the industry and also in financial management roles. Worked with Ryan Hotels, the Doyle Group, CFO of Ashford and Dromoland Castles for many years. And then in 2009 was co-founder of Pembroke Hospitality with my colleague Niall Gagan.
And what prompted yourself and Niall to set up Pembroke Hospitality back in 2009?
The business was set up as a response really to the financial crisis, which had really decimated a lot of hotel businesses around the country at that stage. You know, it was a particularly bleak time for the industry, and myself and Niall came together just to see could we play a role in assisting that recovery, both experienced in the industry. And we wanted to try and assist and help all stakeholders, both owners and lenders, to try and maybe develop and implement business plans to deliver some recovery and value for them.
So talk to me about some of the projects you would have worked on from there and the type of results that you would have achieved.
A lot of strategic reviews for businesses that were in distress at the time. Both for owners and lenders, where we would come in, get a thorough understanding of the business, develop out business plans with a view to helping those businesses recover value. So sometimes it was focused on the marketing and sales side of things in terms of generating new business, trying to tap into new markets. A lot of the time back then it was focused on cost reduction and trying to skinny the business down as much as possible, keep costs under control. Careful, new suites of management reporting to help businesses really understand what was going on in their hotel at the time. So a whole range of activities. And then in some cases that also, I suppose, led to interim asset management on behalf of owners and lenders.
And Mark, if we fast forward now to 2018, 2019, before the pandemic arrived on our shores, how would you describe the performance of hotels across Ireland?
There had been a very good recovery really from around 2015 onwards, 2015, 2016, gradually building up to probably three very good years in 2017, 18 and 19. 18 and 19 in particular had seen record visitor numbers into the country, record occupancy rates, strong average room rates. So, a buoyant time for the industry, which, to be honest, was badly needed, having come on the back of 6 or 7 quite difficult years for the industry.
The government has been very much complimented by business organisations right across the country in relation to the basket of supports that they provided to all sectors during the COVID pandemic. What were your thoughts in relation to the supports that were provided to hotels?
At an overall level, I'd have to say that the level of support was excellent. And the speed with which the wage supports, I suppose in particular, were implemented was really a lifesaver for a lot of businesses out there. So you're right, there has been a lot of praise given, and I think it's very much deserved. In terms of the impact for individual hotels, in some cases, the level of support would have been sufficient, along with maybe a reasonable summer trading, particularly hotels along the coast, to minimise the disruption on their business. But there are others where that has been deeply impacted, even with the benefit of the support. Those supports, were not sufficient to stem, pretty substantial leakages in cash over 2 years of on and off closures.
And of course, as we now face into a period when the government supports have dissipated for the hotel industry, you saw an opportunity to develop a new hotel investment fund in partnership with the Irish Strategic Investment Fund. Talk to us about that and what was involved in setting it up.
The Irish Strategic Investment Fund, as you'll be aware, Carl, it's like Ireland's sovereign investment fund and controlled by the National Treasury Management Agency. And they, I suppose, have a key focus on, supporting jobs and economic activity throughout Ireland. And I guess they realise, as we did, that that economic activity and the sustainability of some of those jobs was going to be under threat unless there was maybe access to funding available for hotels that had been just particularly badly impacted during COVID. It has now come to fruition, I suppose, just as we think the timing is right there, Carl, in terms of now that the government supports are winding down or have wound down, and things like the warehouse tax liabilities need to be addressed. Banks are looking to get back to normalised lending arrangements where, interest and capital repayments are recommencing. Notwithstanding that there's a reasonable recovery out there in the broader market, that's going to put some pressure on hotel cash flow for some, not all hoteliers, but for some out there. And that's where the fund will hopefully have a role to play.
So provide us with an insight into the key features of this new hotel investment fund.
The key criteria is there to support, businesses that were, fundamentally sound and trading well pre-COVID. So it's not designed to be a panacea for all ills. It's targeted at good, solid hotels that were trading well pre-COVID. We're looking at a minimum of 25 bedrooms and of 3-star grade and above. Investment amounts are anything from 500,000 to 5 million. And funding can be utilised for a broad range of activities, from general working capital to capital projects, and maybe an offshoot of capital expenditure project would be particularly around sustainability and environmental projects, which has probably become an important feature given the way utility costs have risen in recent months.
And what's the term that goes with this particular facility, and how is the investment put in through ISIF?
Designed to be a 3-year facility and can be extended for an additional 2 1-year periods if required. But really the term is designed to be for 3 years to allow businesses get back on an even keel. And investment is by preference equity share. And the reason for that, Carl, is not to load any more debt as such onto the business.
So there's no personal guarantee with this facility required. However, the investment does go in as a preferential equity share. So what impact does that have on the overall company?
So you're right. It's unsecured. There are no personal guarantees. So I suppose the impact it has is that it does have to be refinanced out at the end of the period. Interest is rolled up during the 3-year life span of the investment. And so typically a hotel would look to sort of start to build up their cash reserves to allow the investment amount to be refinanced.
There's a lot of uncertainty in the market here today in Ireland, and not just in Ireland but globally. You mentioned some of those aspects earlier in relation to the increased cost of living, increase in fuel costs, and we are certainly unsure about what the future holds for the economy. What happens in a situation whereby we run into a problem in relation to demand for hotel rooms over the coming years and a hotel is unable to pay the repayments on that debt facility?
That's the reason for the extension period, Carl, because we're conscious that hoteliers out there, through no fault of their own, may struggle to repay all of a facility. They'll have their business plan would suggest that they have the ability to repay it at the end of the period, but something goes wrong along the way through no fault of their own. That's why we're allowed extend onward. So if they require another 6 months, another 12 months, another 2 years to refinance, that's envisaged and factored in. It hopefully can be avoided, but I'm sure there will be some instances where it will be necessary.
What is the application process that they need to go through to avail of this hotel investment fund?
The quickest way to get to us is through our website, www.hifireland.ie. We have an application form on the website. If people fill that out and send it back into us, we'll engage straight away. The fund is very much designed to be quick and nimble and responsive to industry needs. So once applications are received, we aim to turn them around quickly.
And Mark, finally, what is your outlook for the hotel industry in Ireland over the next 3 years?
I think it's a little bit mixed, Carl, in that we are seeing a good rebound in demand, certainly since St. Patrick's weekend, I think in particular. I think the idea to give some praise to government to have a big kind of national launch or relaunch of St. Patrick's Day was excellent, and it really seemed to trigger a lot of not just domestic but international demand, which has been great and has continued on an upward trajectory since then. But it has been dampened by the inflationary pressures, which have put significant pressure on say margins and profitability. And the other issue is staffing. I mean, there are still hotels out there that are struggling to reopen all of their facilities because they simply can't get enough staff. As a consequence, the outlook is a little bit mixed.
Well, if you've just tuned in, that was Mark Lynch from Pembroke Hospitality, and it's great to see hotels getting much needed financial support following a turbulent 2-year period.
Southeast Radio's Business Matters with Carl Fitzpatrick.
South